Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you how I generated over 20,000 leads for a B2B lead generation project targeting clinical laboratories across the United States. This was part of a larger account sourcing project where the goal was to build a large database of businesses that match a specific target market. For this part of the project, I focused on finding clinical laboratories across the United States of America. I will walk you through the process I used, from choosing the right search terms and locations to using Google Maps and Apify to collect the data, and finally organizing everything into a usable database. So the first step was, before I started sourcing the leads, I first needed to understand the target market. For this project, I was looking for clinical laboratories across the United States of America. So I wasn't just searching for random healthcare business. I needed to find businesses that matched the target audience and was relevant to the project. And Google Maps was one of the main sources I used to find these businesses. But I wasn't manually opening every businesses and copying the information one by one. Instead, I used a more structured approach. So this is where Epify came in. And yeah, this is Google Maps. And this is the keywords that I'm using. So this is where Epify came in. And I will show you how I use it to collect the data. For this project, I searched for different keywords. Related to clinical laboratories and combined them with different locations across the United States. For example, I could search for terms related to clinical laboratories and diagnostic laboratories, and then target different cities, counties, and other locations in United States of America. The reason I used different search terms was to find as many relevant businesses as possible. Different businesses can appear under different search terms. So if I only use one keyword, I could miss businesses that might be relevant to the project. So once I had my search strategy, I moved into Epify and set it up. So yeah, we are on my Epify dashboard. For this project, I actually make use of Apify Google Map scraping actor to automate the process of collecting businesses data from the searches I was running. Instead of manually going through thousands of Google Map results, I could enter my search terms and location, and Apify would collect the available business location for me. So here we have the options for adding our keywords. So for this, I actually added clinical laboratory keyword, medical laboratory, diagnostic laboratory, reference laboratory, and many more. For this project, I added 12 keywords that were relevant to the type of businesses I was looking for. Next, I added my target location in the United States. I also filtered the results to English. And in this section of number of places to extract per search term, I actually limited it to 1,500 places to search. There are also other filters we can use to make the results more relevant. For example, we can add search terms, categories, and other filters depending on what we are looking for. We can also make use of Google Map links as another way to run our searches. So there are different ways to use these tools, and the best options depend on the type of project you are working on. The main benefit of using Apify is that it makes the process much faster. So instead of manually copying thousands of businesses leads from Google Maps, I could automate the data collection and spend more time focusing on the search strategy and data quality. So so this is the setup I use for this project. I entered the search keywords and added the location I wanted to target, and I also added the necessary filters. So once everything was ready, I click on one. I click on one to start the scraper. Apify will then start collecting the available business information from the Google Maps results. The actor the actor that I'm using charges around $4 for every 1,000 leads. The actor I'm using charges around $4 for every 1,000 leads scraped. So I will click on the start again to start scraping. So depending on the search, the data collected can include information such as the business name, address, phone number, website, email, Google Maps URL, and other publicly available business information that are relevant to our project. So yeah, so yeah, Epify Actor is actually working at the moment. But there's one thing to but there's actually one important thing to understand. The quality of the results depend heavily on the search strategy you use. If your keywords are too broad, you may get a lot of irrelevant businesses. If your keywords are too narrow, you may miss potential accounts. So I actually spent my time refining the keywords and geographic targeting to improve both the quality and coverage of the data. I actually repeated this process across different locations and with different search terms to maximize the number of relevant accounts I could find. For instance, I'm targeting clinical laboratories in the whole of USA. So adding USA, instead of adding United States to my location filter, I could start by first identifying the states, counties, and cities in each state in order to like maximize the data. So I repeated this process across different locations and with different search terms to maximize the number of relevant accounts I could find. So after AP5 finished running, these are the results. So after AP5 finished running and processing the searches, I could export the results. I could click here. So yeah, we have the option to choose which data points we want to export. We have the option to choose which data. We can select the specific columns. Okay, hold on. CSV. So yeah, we have the option to choose which data points we want to export. We can select the specific select the specific columns or information we want to include in our final data set. We can also choose the format we want to export the data in. For this project, I'm actually going to export the result. I'm actually going to export the result as a CSV file. So after that, so I've selected the right filters that I need to apply in order to to get the most in order to get the accurate information that I need. And for this project, I exported the result as a CSV file. The result now into my Google Sheets. After that, I brought the data into Google Sheets so I could organize and clean it. Once the data was in Google Sheet, I could start reviewing the records. So yeah, I could clean out the bad data or irrelevant data, remove duplicate businesses, and organize the information. So the final list would be more useful and ready for. So the final list could be more useful and ready for uh, for delivery. This was the same process I used throughout the project. I repeated the searches across different locations in the United States and used different keywords to increase the number of relevant businesses I could find. By combining different keywords and location and search method, I was able to build a much larger account list. So after going through this process, I was able to generate over 20,000 potential clinical laboratory accounts from this sourcing channel. And this was only one part of the larger project. The overall project involved using multiple data sources to build a much larger account universe. So Google Maps and Apify were just one piece of the puzzle. In the next video, I will show you how I in the next video, I will show you how I expanded the database using other sources and found additional records that may not have been captured through Google Maps. I will be covering how I sourced hundreds of thousands and additional records from online directories and databases. So that's how I generated over 20,000 clinical laboratory accounts using Google Maps, a structure, search strategy, and Apify. The main lesson here is that large scale lead generation is not simply about collecting as much data as possible. You need to understand your target market, choose the right search terms, target the right location, use the right tools, and then clean and organize the data before it's actually useful. If you found this video helpful, stay tuned to the next video where I will show you how I expanded this project using large scale directory data. Thanks for watching.